Hi, this is Esther Lynn, photographer for MMAfighting.com, and this is Focus, UFC 243. We land in Melbourne on Tuesday morning and then head to Marvel Stadium because the Truth, Paul Pierce, would be stopping for a photo op with interim UFC middleweight champ Israel Adesanya by a set of murals painted for UFC 243. Between the two murals sat a group of office workers brown bagging it together. While it seemed a surreal scene, basketball legend and MMA champion, that's the kind of bridge I feel like MMA builds. You're always surprised when you meet a fellow fan, mainly because, while we call it a sport, prize fighting is still on its own island, and it attracts a more varied array of people than the marketing of the UFC would have you believe. Thursday. Open workouts are outside at Federation Square again, like the last two trips here to Melbourne. The mood is bright, the fighters are having fun. Adesanya brought gifts of Gucci-styled gear, but only after getting confirmation from the winning fan that they train. Night falls. The champ, Robert Whittaker, takes the stage to an excited crowd. There's a part of me that can't quite settle into the idea of there being a main event this Sunday, with the hernia that scratched the main event back in February. But Whittaker dissuades that fear with his speed and angles. I'm always in awe of his constantly pivoting footwork, but can't shake that he hasn't competed in over 15 months. We won't get to speak to the competitors until tomorrow at Media Day, but I can't imagine any fighter admitting that they're not ready. Next morning at said Media Day, the face-offs are in that same friendliness that I've come to expect here in this part of the world. Aussie Megan Anderson's opponent was not part of the panel, so in stare-downs, she stood alone. Suddenly, a voice calls out, "John Cena!" And Anderson does the "you can't see me" hand gesture across her face. I found out later, the mystery voice was Adesanya's. This matchup between the quiet Aussie who embodies what Submission Radio's Dennis and Casper explained to me as tall poppy syndrome, I've heard it in my own cultures as the tallest grass gets cut. Whittaker's been an embodiment of that phrase. And seemingly on the opposite side, Nigerian Kiwi Adesanya. Though that is incorrect. Adesanya isn't the opposite. They're actually very similar. Whittaker even is the younger of the two. In comparing the two looks the champs are sporting today, both men are in their own elements. Whittaker is in his signature tailored blue suit, confidence brimming out of his posture as if he's already assured of this Sunday's outcome. Whittaker seemed to be in his own space, almost as if we aren't really here. Stylebender went casual. The weather's a bit chilly outside and perfect for his trusty black bomber jacket. In contrast with Whittaker, Adesanya conducted himself as if we're all part of his space. This Media Day, along with everything else this week, playing a part in this episode that he's written. The next day, there are no separate official and ceremonial weigh-ins for this event since it's already a morning affair in this time zone. It's 9 a.m. The crowd is lively for such an early hour. Izzy's on the scale, looking pensive, serious, sending love to his family after coming in at 184 pounds. Whittaker seems even more eager for his return than the vocal fans inside the Marvel Stadium, roaring as he steps onto the scale. When they face off, Adesanya is saying something to Whittaker, but it's so loud and we're so far away I can't hear. But Whittaker doesn't even seem to blink. They turn to face the crowd. We're so close now. In the evening, we take a trip to Doncaster, just outside of Melbourne. And City Kickboxing has two fighters at the top of a local Muay Thai show, Warriors Way 24. Eugene Behrman has had a very busy weekend. Last night after the media day, he cornered some fighters in a Melbourne MMA show. Tonight, this shopping town hotel venue is packed to the gills. The air is thick with the sting of tiger balm. Before each fight, the competitors do their Waikru Ramoi, and the music plays. There's a few more bouts ahead, but it's getting late and we've got to be at Marvel Stadium at 8 a.m., bright and early. The morning comes too soon. After a quick breakfast, business picks up right away with finishes and exciting bouts all throughout the morning. City Kickboxing's Brad Riddell gets things started for his team with a rousing fight of the day against Jamie Malarkey. It's a joy to see former Invicta champ Megan Anderson have a strong win, bounding out of the octagon, all smiles. Before the next City Kickboxing product Dan Hooker is to fight, I see they've placed featherweight title challenger and teammate Alex Volkanovski behind me. He's sitting in a chair designated for security guards so they don't block views, but I can't help but giggle at the sight. Dan Hooker has a clean and sharp performance. The indestructible Al Iaquinta remains unfinished, but Hooker has captured the victory in impressive fashion. It is an elegant table setter. Then as we sit in the darkened Marvel Stadium waiting for the main event, I hear Liam Neeson's voice, and I look up at the screens. I'm not allowed to run up to the walkout tunnel, but I watch the screens in awe of the three dancers. Then, Adesanya walks out and joins the movements. It felt like looking up at the screen at Saitama Super Arena. The nerve to perform choreography before an enormous title unification bout against a dangerous fellow champion. But also, what a welcome distraction. While nearly every UFC show actually feels identical once you're in the arena, they look the same, the music is the same. Suddenly, this did feel like a stadium show. As gigantic as the event now felt, it had the same intimacy that prize fights have in the way we know we're about to watch a test of two wills. This is an exam that Adesanya seems confidently prepared for as he skips around the cage, running his hand along the chain link. Whitaker approaches the cage, a hooded figure entering the stadium. His focused eyes are embers in the dark as he passes. As we're awaiting their names to be read, Adesanya looks across the cage and writes Robert Whitaker's name in what we'll eventually find out is Adesanya's death note. Right away, Whitaker is hunting for leaping hooks and some land, but at a cost as Stylebender pivots away from the normally very footwork-oriented Whitaker. Whitaker does look a bit rusty. The young fighter has had a lot of medical adversity and injury to overcome in the last few years, and while Bobby Knuckles has always been a fast and angled attacker, Adesanya feels a half a step ahead and counters, sending Whitaker to the canvas as the horn sounds at the end of the first round. As they waited for the second round to begin, Robert Whitaker looked still quite foggy in his eyes, looked up at the screen, puzzled at the sequence playing out. It was unfamiliar. And as it was unrecognizable imagery, Whitaker dove into the second round with what seemed the exact same plan that had led him headfirst into that frying pan. My shoulders tensed as I felt the end building with each hit Adesanya returned and landed. Adesanya eats this strike, but as he's leaning back, releases three punches with such speed, I see the shutter closing in my viewfinder like a Viewmaster clicking. And then Whitaker stumbled backwards, trying to find his footing or the invisible chair that had been pulled away. At that moment, it was so quickly and quietly executed, and the subsequent silence so deafening that I was unable to discern exactly what had happened. Minutes after Whitaker had sat up, then stood up, and after Adesanya had celebrated by scaling the cage to tell off Paulo Costa, seated in the front row, and after the belt ceremony, the photos with family, then I stopped, and I finally started to transmit photos. I gasped. This image is far more violent here in this 1/1000th of a second than it was in that instant. It's photos like this that give me simultaneous pride and guilt. I am not able to separate the skill and be proud of capturing such a strike without also wincing at its brutality. I run up the stairs to the post-fight press conference where Whitaker, who had endured so much, sat here, laughing, chuckling through the loss and literal pain as he attempted to recount his missteps. When it was the unified champion's turn to take the stage, Adesanya could not refuse the phone call from his cousin and answered, turning the phone to the media, his parents seated behind us, so we could join in this family celebration. Adesanya commented in the post-fight that, for him, he was truly calm and perhaps alarmingly so. But that Whitaker's chest pounding seemed performative, that radiating confidence just wasn't there. But to me, there's an honor in being scared and still trying. Whitaker's lack of confidence now noticeable in the photo of the Reaper ascending into the cage as if he's missing a protective mantle. Because what's a Reaper without his hood? Exemplifies the backbone to face overwhelming fear and push forward. That is itself a strength. I cannot say one person is less of a fighter than another for being scared. That fear, it's human. And is it even a feat if you innately don't possess the ability to feel fear? There is also fear in the unknown. And it is apparent that tonight's outcome was not unknown to Israel Adesanya. It was just a tape he had watched over and over already. He had his lines, he had his blocking down. He knew where to be. He was right. When he won, he would make it look easy. And surely, it did look effortless, but that is the path Adesanya, his team, and his coaches had laid out. This was a culmination. While there have been grand, memorable matches, with the backdrop nearly identical each time, it's become less easy to distinguish a time and setting for each epic scene. But now, I catch myself dreaming of future possibilities. I'm most excited for the creative power I'm feeling, charging. The unknown and the ever-expanding definition of who the best fighter could be. What face could represent strength? What broad skills, including dancing, could be encompassed in that tool set? What is it we love about prize fighting? We love a good slobber knocker or wild melee, but we're equally fascinated by technical and efficient dismantling. In it, there's the will of one person over another, tapping into what we think of as a consummate expression of a fundamental human skill. And here is a man who rocketed to the top with an active schedule and an active imagination. When we leave the stadium again from a sea of white plastic lawn chairs to the sun setting outside, it feels like we've stepped into the next stage of this sport. When Whitaker had lost before, he came back and remained undefeated again until now, so I have no doubt that a rematch is inevitable. Today, however, is Israel Adesanya's day. I watched the sun go down and the Marvel Stadium sign light up, filled with curiosity as to how the landscape will look tomorrow and what we might see from the stylebender and prize fighting in the future. This is Esther Lynn for MMAfighting.com. Thank you for watching.